In a distant galaxy far from Earth, a powerful alien race called the Zephyrians gathered in their grand mothership. The Zephyrians were known for their advanced technology and ruthless tactics. Their leader, General Vaxor, stood before a massive screen, displaying the blue planet they intended to invade. He had heard rumors about the humans, weak and disorganized. The Zephyrians had long believed that conquering Earth would be an easy task, and today was the day they would make their move. "Prepare the fleet!" General Vaxor commanded, his voice booming through the ship. The crew members, clad in silver uniforms, rushed to their stations, readying their ships for the journey. The Zephyrian fleet consisted of dozens of sleek, fast vessels equipped with powerful weapons. They believed their might was unmatched in the universe. Meanwhile, back on Earth, in a hidden underground command center, the United Earth Forces, UEF, watched the alien fleet approach with growing concern. Commander Sarah Carter, a skilled leader known for her bravery, stood at the helm of the command center. She had received reports about the Zephyrian ships and knew they were coming. "Everyone, listen up!" she said, her voice steady and commanding. "The Zephyrians are on their way and they think we are weak, but we are ready for them. Prepare the Dreadnoughts for battle." The room buzzed with activity as soldiers and technicians worked together, loading weapons and running simulations. The UEF's Dreadnoughts were massive ships, built for war. They were not as sleek as the Zephyrian vessels, but they were equipped with powerful energy cannons and defensive shields. Commander Carter believed in her crew and knew that they could defend Earth if they worked together. As the Zephyrian fleet entered the solar system, they felt a surge of confidence. "Look at that planet," General Vaxor sneered. "It is nothing but a blue marble. We will crush these humans in no time." He turned to his crew, who cheered in agreement. They thought their victory was certain. But Commander Carter had been gathering intelligence on the Zephyrians. She had learned about their tactics and weaknesses, and she had a plan. As the alien ships approached, she ordered her crew to activate the hidden defenses around Earth. Powerful energy shields flickered to life, surrounding the planet like an invisible barrier. "Prepare for their arrival," Commander Carter shouted, her heart racing with excitement and determination. She knew the fate of Earth depended on their success. As the alien ships drew closer, the tension in the command center grew thick. Finally, the moment arrived. The Zephyrian fleet crossed the threshold into Earth's orbit. Commander Carter could see the ships on the radar, their bright lights illuminating the darkness of space. The first wave of Zephyrian fighters broke through the atmosphere, diving toward the surface. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. "They've launched their attack!" a technician yelled. Commander Carter's heart raced, but she kept her cool. "All hands battle stations!" she commanded. The soldiers hurried to their posts, adrenaline pumping through their veins. The Dreadnoughts, massive and imposing, slowly emerged from their docking bays. As the Zephyrian ships swooped down, firing their weapons, the UEF Dreadnoughts responded with powerful energy blasts. The sky lit up with explosions as the two fleets clashed. General Vaxor watched from his mothership, astonished by the humans' sudden response. "They are fighting back!" he exclaimed, disbelief in his voice. The Zephyrian fleet had expected an easy victory, but they were met with fierce resistance. The first battle had begun, and the humans were not as weak as the aliens had believed. Commander Carter's strategy was starting to show results, and the fight for Earth was about to become a legendary tale of courage and strength. As the chaos unfolded in the sky, the Zephyrians realized they might have made a grave mistake underestimating the humans. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and both sides prepared for the conflict that would change the course of history. The clash between the United Earth Forces, UEF, and the invading Zephyrian fleet filled the skies with brilliant flashes of light and thunderous sounds. Commander Sarah Carter stood on the bridge of her Dreadnought, the USS Valor, her eyes fixed on the chaotic scene unfolding before her. "Status report," she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise of the command center. "Enemy ships are engaging our outer defenses," replied Lieutenant Kim, his fingers flying over the controls. "They seem to be focused on breaking through our shields." Commander Carter nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. She had prepared her crew for this moment, but seeing the alien ships in action was different from any simulation they had practiced. "Divert power to the forward shields," she ordered, "and ready the energy cannons. We need to hold our ground." The dreadnoughts of the UEF moved into formation, their massive hulls glinting in the sunlight. Each ship was armed with powerful energy cannons that could fire devastating blasts. The crew members worked quickly, their faces showing determination. As the first wave of Zephyrian fighters approached, they fired their weapons, red beams cutting through the air. The UEF ships responded, energy blasts illuminating the darkening sky. One Zephyrian fighter zoomed toward the USS Valor, its pilot confident and focused. The ship fired, but Commander Carter was ready. "Evasive maneuvers!" she commanded. The crew quickly adjusted, and the Dreadnought shifted, dodging the incoming attack. The Zephyrian fighter overshot its target and crashed into the nearby Dreadnought, causing a massive explosion. "Direct hit!" shouted a crew member, excitement filling the room. The humans cheered, but they knew the battle was far from over. "Launch our interceptors," Commander Carter ordered. A squadron of small, agile ships took off from the hangar bays, weaving through the chaos. They quickly engaged the Zephyrian fighters, firing their own weapons with precision. In the midst of the battle, General Vaxor watched from his command ship, his expression a mix of frustration and anger. "How are they resisting us like this?" he demanded. "The Zephyrian fleet was supposed to crush the humans without effort." "Sir, they are using tactics we didn't expect," one of his officers replied. "Their ships are more coordinated than we thought." Vaxor clenched his fists, realizing that underestimating humans was proving to be a costly mistake. He ordered his fleet to regroup and launch a more focused attack on the UEF dreadnoughts. Back on the USS Valor, Commander Carter received a report from her tactical officer. "The Zephyrian ships are concentrating their fire on us. We need to strengthen our shields." "Do it," Carter replied, determination etched on her face. She would not let her crew down. The ship shook as the enemy fired again, but the energy shields held strong. As the battle raged on, UEF soldiers on board the dreadnoughts prepared for a possible boarding. "Stay alert," shouted Sergeant Rodriguez to his team. "We might have enemy troops coming on board." The UEF crew worked seamlessly, firing their weapons and coordinating their defenses. They had trained for this moment, and they were ready to defend their ship with everything they had. Meanwhile, in the heat of the battle, a Zephyrian fighter managed to breach the UEF lines and approach the USS Valor. "It's coming in fast," shouted a crew member. "Prepare for impact," Carter yelled. Just as the alien ship was about to fire, a UEF interceptor swooped in, firing at the Zephyrian ship. The alien fighter exploded in a bright flash, saving the USS Valor from certain damage. "Great job, team," Carter exclaimed, pride swelling in her chest. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by the success. As the battle continued, both sides suffered losses. The skies were filled with smoke and debris as ships fought fiercely for control. The Zephyrians were realizing that these humans were not the easy targets they had expected. The first battle was turning into a fight for survival, and both sides were pushed to their limits. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow across the battlefield, the outcome remained uncertain. Commander Carter knew that this battle was just the beginning. With every shot fired and every ship destroyed, the humans were proving their strength. They would not back down, and the Zephyrians were about to learn that underestimating humans could lead to disastrous consequences. The battle raged on, but as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky grew darker, filled with smoke and debris. The United Earth Forces, UEF, had managed to hold their ground, but the Zephyrians were relentless, pushing forward with their attack. Commander Sarah Carter knew they needed to regroup and strategize if they wanted to turn the tide of the battle. Inside the USS Valor, the atmosphere was tense but determined. The crew worked tirelessly, monitoring systems and coordinating their defense. Carter stood at the command console, her face illuminated by the glowing screens. She felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. "Lieutenant Kim, how are our remaining forces?" she asked, her voice firm. "Sir, we've lost 2 dreadnoughts and several interceptors, but we still have a strong front," he reported, his eyes focused on the data. "The Zephyrians are regrouping for another assault." Commander Carter took a deep breath, thinking quickly. "We need to draw them into a trap. If we can lure them in, we can use our remaining dreadnoughts to flank them." Lieutenant Kim nodded, understanding the plan. "We can set up a false position, making it look like we're weak. They'll come in to finish us off." Carter's eyes sparkled with hope. "Exactly. Let's use our smaller ships to create a diversion. They can lure the Zephyrians right into our ambush." The crew sprang into action, quickly relaying the new orders. They set up a series of false signals, making it seem as if their defenses were crumbling. Meanwhile, the remaining dreadnoughts took up strategic positions, ready to launch a surprise counterattack. As the UEF prepared for the next wave, General Vaxor of the Zephyrian fleet monitored the humans from his mothership. He felt a mix of frustration and determination. "They are holding longer than I anticipated," he growled. "But this time, we will finish them." He ordered his fleet to advance, confident that the humans would be too weakened to resist. Vaxor believed that this would be an easy victory. Back on the USS Valor, Commander Carter and her team watched as the Zephyrian ships moved in. The tension in the command center was palpable as they waited for the perfect moment to strike. "Hold steady," Carter instructed her crew, her voice steady. "Wait for my command." The Zephyrian ships drew closer, unaware of the trap waiting for them. The UEF ships had set their course, ready to spring into action. Commander Carter felt her heart race as she watched the enemy approach. "Now!" she shouted. With that command, the UEF interceptors darted from their hidden positions, engaging the Zephyrian fighters. The surprise attack caught the aliens off guard. Energy blasts lit up the night sky, and the UEF ships fired with renewed determination. General Vaxor watched in shock as his forces were suddenly attacked from multiple directions. "What is happening?" he demanded, his anger rising. The Zephyrians quickly began to regroup, but it was too late. The UEF dreadnoughts unleashed their powerful energy blasts, targeting the alien ships with precision. The coordinated strike was paying off, and the UEF forces were gaining the upper hand. As the chaos unfolded, Commander Carter felt a surge of hope. "Keep the pressure on them! Don't let up!" she ordered, her voice ringing with authority. The crew responded, their spirits lifted by the unexpected success. But just as victory seemed within reach, a new wave of Zephyrian reinforcements appeared on the horizon. The sight of more ships sent a chill through the command center. "More incoming!" Lieutenant Kim warned. "We need to fall back and regroup." Carter hesitated for a moment, but she knew he was right. "All ships fall back to the rally point. We'll regroup and plan our next move." As the UEF forces retreated, they fired at the Zephyrians to cover their escape. The darkness of space was filled with the sounds of battle as both sides fought fiercely. Commander Carter led her crew back to the safety of the rally point, where they could regroup and assess their situation. Once they were safe, Carter gathered her officers around the strategy table. "We have to rethink our approach," she said, her eyes scanning the faces of her crew. "The Zephyrians are more relentless than we thought, but we have the advantage of surprise. We just need to play our cards right." The crew nodded, their determination renewed. They began brainstorming new strategies, each idea more daring than the last. The humans were ready to face their enemy head-on, and they were willing to fight for their planet. In the darkness of space, the battle for Earth continued, but the humans were no longer just defending. They were preparing to strike back. With their spirits lifted and their strategies in place, Commander Carter and her crew were ready for whatever came next. The first battle was just a stepping stone in a much larger conflict, and they would not back down. As the stars shimmered in the dark expanse of space, the crew of the USS Valor gathered in the command center. The atmosphere was thick with tension and determination. Commander Sarah Carter stood at the front, her eyes scanning the faces of her crew. They had just faced their first major battle against the Zephyrian fleet, and although they had suffered losses, their spirit was unbroken. "Listen up, everyone," Carter began, her voice steady. "We've proven that we can hold our ground against these aliens. They underestimated us, and we showed them what humanity is capable of. But now, we need to focus on the next phase of our plan." The crew nodded, their expressions a mix of weariness and resolve. They had trained hard for this moment, and their unity was strong. They understood that every decision they made could mean the difference between survival and defeat. Lieutenant Kim stepped forward, presenting a holographic display of the Zephyrian fleet. "We've identified their command ship," he said, pointing to the largest vessel on the screen. "If we can take that out, it will disrupt their operations and give us a major advantage." "Good work, Kim," Carter replied. "But we have to be careful. The command ship is heavily guarded. We need a solid strategy to ensure we succeed." The crew began discussing plans, each member offering ideas and suggestions. Sergeant Rodriguez suggested using small, agile ships to distract the Zephyrians while the dreadnoughts moved in for the kill. The officers debated the merits of various tactics, their voices rising in excitement. Carter listened intently, admiring the teamwork and camaraderie among her crew. She knew that it was their human spirit that set them apart from the aliens. They were not just soldiers, they were a family, and that bond gave them strength. As they developed their strategy, the crew took turns sharing personal stories. Each tale was filled with hope and determination, reminding everyone of why they were fighting. A young officer spoke about his family back on Earth and how he wanted to protect them. An engineer shared her dream of building a better future for her children. With each story, the atmosphere grew lighter and laughter mixed with the seriousness of their situation. "Let's remember why we fight," Carter said, inspired by the stories. "We fight for our families, our friends, and our planet. No matter how many times we are knocked down, we will rise again. We will show them the strength of humanity." With renewed energy, the crew finished finalizing their plan. They prepared to launch their next attack on the Zephyrian command ship, knowing that they were fighting not just for survival, but for everything they held dear. The next day, the USS Valor and its accompanying ships set out to face the Zephyrian fleet once more. The crew felt a mix of fear and excitement as they approached their target. Commander Carter stood on the bridge, her heart racing as she looked at her team. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice calm but filled with urgency. "Yes, Commander," the crew replied in unison. With a deep breath, Carter commanded, "Engage!" The ships surged forward, their weapons primed and ready. As they entered the battle zone, the Zephyrian ships noticed them immediately. "They're back!" General Vaxor shouted in disbelief. "Prepare to engage!" The UEF ships began to maneuver into their positions, drawing the attention of the Zephyrian fleet. The smaller ships darted around, distracting the enemy while the dreadnoughts positioned themselves for the main attack. As the battle began, the UEF forces fought fiercely, their spirits high. They moved as one, utilizing their training and the strategies they had developed. Energy blasts flew through the air, illuminating the darkness of space. Carter kept her eyes focused on the command ship, coordinating her crew's efforts. "Target the command ship's weapon systems," she ordered. The USS Valor unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, striking the Zephyrian command ship. Alarms blared as the enemy vessel returned fire, but the UEF ships held their ground, working together to protect each other. For every loss they suffered, the humans fought back with even more determination. The camaraderie and spirit of the crew shone bright, pushing them to overcome every obstacle. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the UEF forces landed a decisive blow to the Zephyrian command ship. It shuddered violently before exploding in a spectacular display of light. "Victory!" The crew cheered, their voices echoing through the command center. They had fought with everything they had, and their human spirit had prevailed. Commander Carter watched with pride as her crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. They had shown the Zephyrians the strength of humanity, and they would continue to fight for their world and each other. The battle was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next, united in their cause. The air was thick with anticipation as the crew of the USS Valor prepared for the final showdown against the Zephyrian fleet. After days of fierce battles and incredible losses, they had proven their strength and resilience. But the Zephyrians were relentless, and now the fate of Earth rested on the shoulders of Commander Sarah Carter and her brave crew. The command center was abuzz with activity. Officers moved swiftly, gathering data and checking weapons systems. Carter stood at the front, her face illuminated by the glowing screens. She felt a mix of determination and anxiety. This battle would decide everything. "Lieutenant Kim, what's the status of our fleet?" Carter asked, her voice steady. "Commander, we have all ships ready to engage," Kim reported, his fingers flying over the control panel. "The Zephyrians are gathering for a final assault. They know we're vulnerable after our last battle." Carter nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "We need to hold the line. If we can defend our position long enough, we might be able to lure them into a trap once more." The crew looked at each other, their expressions serious. They had come too far to back down now. "Let's show them what humans can do," Carter said, her voice firm and inspiring. "We fight for our home, our families, and our future!" With a fierce cheer from her crew, the USS Valor moved into position, flanked by the remaining dreadnoughts and interceptors. The vastness of space surrounded them, but their unity gave them strength. As the Zephyrian fleet approached, General Vaxor watched from his command ship, his anger boiling. "These humans are stubborn. They think they can defeat us. "Prepare the assault!" he ordered, clenching his fists. He was determined to crush their spirit once and for all. The two fleets moved closer together, the tension palpable. Energy blasts lit up the darkness as both sides opened fire. The battle erupted like a violent storm, each ship maneuvering to evade enemy fire while retaliating with their own. Commander Carter shouted commands, coordinating her crew as they fought valiantly. "Focus fire on their lead ship! Target their engines!" The crew worked in perfect harmony, their training kicking in as they responded to Carter's commands. The energy beams flew from the UEF ships, striking the Zephyrian vessels with precision. One by one, the enemy ships fell, but their numbers were still overwhelming. As the battle raged, Carter noticed a large Zephyrian ship moving to flank them. "Lieutenant Kim, divert our firepower to the right flank. We need to cut them off." "On it, Commander," Kim replied, adjusting the ship's trajectory. The UEF forces shifted, firing at the incoming ship with a renewed sense of purpose. But just as they started to gain ground, a massive explosion rocked the USS Valor. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered as the ship took damage. The crew struggled to maintain control. "Status report!" Carter yelled, gripping the command console. "We've lost our aft shields. We're taking heavy fire!" Kim responded, urgency in his voice. Carter gritted her teeth, refusing to let panic take hold. "All hands, brace for impact! Prepare for evasive maneuvers!" The crew fought through the chaos, working together to stabilize the ship. They knew they had to keep fighting, even against overwhelming odds. As the Zephyrian ships closed in, Carter could feel the weight of the moment. With a sudden burst of inspiration, she realized their chance. "We can use the asteroid field as cover," she shouted. "Set course for the asteroids! We can lose them in the debris." The crew quickly followed her lead, navigating the USS Valor towards the rocky terrain. The Zephyrians pursued, but the humans were nimble, weaving in and out of the asteroids. The rocks provided cover, making it difficult for the enemy to target them. "Now, turn and engage!" Carter ordered, her voice full of confidence. As they emerged from the asteroid field, the UEF ships opened fire, catching the Zephyrians by surprise. The humans had turned the tables, and now they were on the offensive. With renewed determination, they launched a final assault. Energy blasts filled the air, and the remaining Zephyrian ships began to fall. Carter could feel the tide of battle shifting. "Push forward! We can win this!" she shouted, her heart racing with adrenaline. The crew cheered, their spirits soaring as they fought with everything they had. In a last-ditch effort, General Vaxer commanded his flagship to engage the USS Valor directly. "We will not lose to these pathetic humans," he yelled, furious. But Carter had anticipated this move. "Prepare to fire all weapons," she commanded. As the Zephyrian flagship closed in, the USS Valor unleashed a devastating barrage of firepower. The energy blasts hit the enemy ship hard, and the explosion lit up the void of space.